If your wife is pulled away and nothing you do seems to work, stop what you're doing right now and listen to every word in this video. Because there is a reason nothing has worked so far. It has nothing to do with how hard you've been trying. Most men in your position are stuck in a trap. You're chasing a woman who is running from the version of you she already made up her mind about. And every time you chase harder, you confirm her story. Today, I'm going to show you the three-phase system that pulls her back without chasing, without begging, and without convincing. Even without performing, right? Because for her, that's just going to feel like manipulation. And here's the thing that is going to surprise you. This system does not start with her at all. It starts with something most men completely overlook. Let me explain. So, here's where most guys get it wrong from the start. They think that the problem is distance. They think if they could just close the gap, everything would be fine. So they try to talk it out, they sit her down and say, I want to fix this. And she either rolls her eyes, gives a one-worded answer, or says it's too late. Then they try to give her space, and she drifts even further. Then they try being nicer, buying flowers, doing the dishes without asking, saying, I love you way too often and more often. And nothing lands. You know why? Because she's not reacting to what you are doing right now. She's reacting to the years of emotional weight that she's been carrying alone. Think of it like this. Imagine a building with a cracked foundation. You can repaint the walls, you can put in new windows, and you can pressure wash the whole outside. But if the foundation is cracked underneath, none of that surface work matters ever. One more storm and the whole thing shifts again. That is what's happening in your marriage right now. She's not upset about last Tuesday. She's carrying years of feeling unseen, unsafe, and unheard. And when she says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, she's not talking about love. She's talking about safety. She's telling you that her nervous system does not trust you to hold the emotional weight that she's been carrying by herself. And that is not something that you can fix with a conversation. That is not something that you can just fix with flowers. That takes precision, a system that takes phases. So let me walk you through them. Phase 1 is what I call the healing phase. And this is where everything begins. Most men skip this phase entirely. They want to just jump straight to the top, which is, sex, romance, and passion, right? And they really just want to jump to the reconnection. They want to get back to holding hands, having her smile at them again. But that is like trying to run a marathon on a broken leg. The healing phase is about one thing, rebuilding emotional safety. Not the kind of safety where she feels physically protected, even though that's a good plus. She knows already you would protect her from the outside world, okay? This is deeper than that. This is about whether that she feels safe enough to be honest with you, safe enough to tell you the things that hurt without you getting defensive, safe enough to show you her real emotions without you shutting down or trying to fix her. Here is what most men do not understand. Your wife speaks in symptoms. She will talk about the dishes, the schedule, the kids, how you forgot about something, but underneath every one of those surface complaints, there's a deeper wound. I call these bleeding points. And bleeding points are not surface level problems. They are core emotional wounds that have been building up for months or even years. When she says, we have talked about this already, she's not frustrated about repetition. She's carrying years of being disappointed, years of bringing up the same wound and watching you minimize it, dismiss it, or explain it away. And here's the part that is hard to hear. It does not even have to be logically true. She might say something that feels completely unfair, something that makes you want to defend yourself or set the record straight. But underneath that statement, there's a bleeding point. There's a wound that has nothing to do with words she is using right now. And most men get stuck on the words. They zoom in into one tree that she's pointing at, but they miss the entire forest. They miss the fact that this is not about the dishes or schedule or what you said last Thursday. This is about years of feeling like her pain did not matter enough for you to really hear it. And every time you defend yourself in those moments, every time you tried to explain it away or told her that she was overreacting, you confirmed her deepest fear, that you're not safe enough to hold her truth. So in the healing phase, the goal is not to convince her that you've changed. The goal is to become the man who can finally hold the weight that she's been carrying alone. When she storms, you anchor. When she doubts, you ground. You don't defend, you're not trying to convince, and you're not overanalyzing. You lead by standing tall in the discomfort instead of running from it. And here's the part that blows most guys away. You do not have to say much. Your presence creates the safety. When you show up differently, in the exact moment she expects the old you, that is where trust starts to rebuild. That is a pattern interrupt, and it is more powerful than any words you could ever say. Now look, if any of this is resonating with you right now, I want you to know you do not have to figure this out alone. I help high-achieving husbands rebuild trust and rekindle connection using something called the heroic husband method. It's a structured, layered system built on the emotional layering protocol that walks you through healing, shifting, and bonding step by step. If you want to learn more, there's a link in the description below to book a consultation with my team. We'll talk about exactly where you are and map out a plan to get her back. But for now, let me keep going because the next phase is where things start to shift. Phase 2 is the shifting phase, and this is where most men have never been. See, the healing phase is about rebuilding safety, but the shifting phase is about something different. It's about rewiring how you show up internally. Let me explain why this matters. Most men who are trying to save their marriage are leading from fear. Fear of losing her, fear of messing up again, fear of being rejected. And when you lead from fear, even if your actions look good on paper, they come off as manipulation, not love. She can feel it. She can see and sense like you're a salesman who's desperate to close the next deal. He might say all the right words. He might smile at the right times. He might even check every box. But you can feel the desperation underneath the pitch. And instead of trusting him, you pull back. That is exactly what happens when you show up to your wife from fear. You say, I love you, but it lands as, please don't leave me. You help around the house, but it lands as, look at me, I'm trying. You sit down and say, I want to work on this, but it lands as, please tell me I'm not losing you. And she cannot trust that because her nervous system is not reading your words, it's reading your energy. Women in their feminine are mirrors and multipliers. Whatever energy that you put out, she's going to reflect back and it amplifies. So if you're pulling out fear and desperation, even while saying all the right things, she mirrors that energy right back at you. And it shows up as coldness, distance, walls. That's not her being difficult. That's her reflecting exactly what you are projecting. Now, think about this for a second. Think about a thermostat versus a thermometer. A thermometer reacts to the temperature in the room. When it gets hot, it goes up. When it gets cold, it goes down. It has zero control. That is how men operate. Her mood goes up, they feel hope. Her mood drops, they spiral. A thermostat is different. A thermostat sets the temperature. It does not react to the environment. It dictates the environment. In the shifting phase, you learn to become the thermostat. You stop determining how you show up based on what she's telling you, because that's not leadership. That is passivity disguised as effort. Real leadership means your mood, your presence, and your energy are set from within, not based on whether she smiled at you today or gave you the silent treatment. Here is something pretty powerful that happens in this phase. When you stop orbiting her emotions and start being grounded in your own purpose, you stop being the man that she has to manage. You become the man that she can finally lean into. There's an old saying I share with the men I work with. Someone's utopia is another person's dystopia. That means when you thought everything was fine, she might have been dying on the inside because you were measuring the marriage by your comfort, not by her safety. The shifting phase forces you to see your marriage through her eyes, not to become passive and definitely not to become weak, but to become aware enough to lead with precision instead of guessing. And that awareness is what separates the men who save their marriages from the one who loses them. Now, let me tell you about a man named James. James came to us after his wife told him she was done. She had an emotional shutdown, sleeping in a different room, one-worded answers, no eye contact, and James had tried everything. He went to therapy, tried the whole being nicer, gave her space, wrote these long letters. Nothing worked. When he came to us, he was frustrated and honestly close to giving up. But here's what happens. In the first weeks, James learned that everything he had been doing was surface level. He was repainting the walls on a cracked foundation. Once he started working on the actual foundation, on understanding her bleeding points, on rebuilding safety through his presence, not his words, things started to shift. Not overnight, not in some dramatic movie moment, but slowly and consistently, she started to soften. The first sign was small. She stopped leaving the room the moment he walked in. Then she started making eye contact again. Then one evening, she asked him how his day was. That might sound small to you, but to James, he hadn't heard that question in 4 months, and it kept building from there. She started listening and sitting closer. She started lingering. After conversations, instead of walking away, she started showing emotions again instead of that flat, disconnected look that used to haunt him. And here's the key to what James did differently. He did not chase a single one of those moments. He did not point them out and say, see, we're getting better. He did not get excited and try to force more progress. He stayed grounded, stayed consistent, and let the process work for him. Because consistency matters more than intensity. James did not do one big thing. He showed up differently every single day. And over time, her nervous system began to trust the new pattern. That is the power of the system. It is not about grand gestures. It is about becoming a different man at the foundation. Which brings us to phase 3, bonding phase. This is where the relationship actually transforms. See, most men think the goal is to get back to where things were. But that is the wrong goal. Where things were is what broke. The bonding phase is about building something entirely new, and it happens naturally when the first 2 phases are done right. In the bonding phase, polarity returns. And let me explain what that actually means, because most people use that word completely wrong. Polarity is not about being dominant or controlling. Masculine and feminine are not opposing forces. They are complementary energies, like 2 magnets that pull towards each other when they are aligned correctly. When you have done the healing work and the internal shifting, your masculine energy becomes grounded and clear and undeniable. And when your masculine is grounded, her feminine naturally opens. She doesn't have to force it. You don't have to beg for it. It happens because that is the natural dynamic between the masculine and the feminine. When safety and trust are present. You see, a woman's base need is safety. That is the foundation the whole house is built on. And when the foundation is finally solid, when she knows that she can trust your leadership, your presence, and your word backed by action, her feminine starts to reawaken naturally. She stops protecting herself, stops testing, and stops holding everything in. And she starts to lean back towards you. Not because you asked her to, not because you earned points, but because her nervous system finally feels safe enough to open again. Think of a campfire. The fire does not chase people. It does not beg anyone to come close. It just burns steady and bright. And people are naturally drawn to its warmth. That is what you become in the bonding phase. You become the man who brings light back to the room. Playful, confident, at ease in your own skin. She stops walking on eggshells. You stop performing. And something real starts to grow between you. Not because anyone is trying to make it happen, but because you have built the safety and trust and the masculine presence that allows it to happen on its own. Now, here is why this matters beyond just your marriage. Men, whether we like it or not, are the foundation of the family unit. And the family unit is the foundation of everything. Communities, societies, great nations. When a man breaks down, everything above him crumbles. When a man stands up, everything above him rises. I mean, just look at what's happening in today's world. So, this is not just about saving your marriage. It's about what your kids will believe about love. It's about what your legacy will look like 20 years from now. This is about being the man who did not just survive the hardest season of his life, but became the leader that his family needed when it mattered most. That is what the Heroic Husband Method is built for. Not just tips and tricks, not therapy talk, or random advice. A structured, proven system that walks you through healing, shifting, and bonding so you can rebuild your marriage from the foundation up. If you're a high-performing man who's tried everything and nothing has worked, if your wife is emotionally shut down or ready to leave, and you're tired of guessing, I want to invite you to take the next step. Click the link in the description below and book a consultation with my team. We will sit down with you, map out exactly where you are, and show you how the system can work for your situation. Because here's the truth. The men who rebuild their marriages are not ones who tried the hardest. They are ones who finally got the right system. And this is that system. I'll see you in the next video.